Got that call.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Hey, is this
Yes,
Ruben?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing the next 5 to 10 years?
Hey, man, we're getting ready to pick you right here, bud.
Let's go, man.
Can't wait to get you here,
Yes, sir.
man. You're going to be a major part.
Yes, sir. You don't know how excited I am, man.
Well, congratulations, man. Excited to get to work with you. It's going to be a lot of fun, buddy.
Yes, sir, Coach. Appreciate you.
Listen here, the wait is over. Now it's time to get to work.
All the emotions on display last week as 257 players' lives were changed when they got the call that their NFL dreams were coming true. Incredible. Really fun draft, by the way. Mina Danfield with us for the hour. Mina, give us a team whose draft you loved last week.
I thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely crushed it. Everybody knew they needed a pass rusher, but very few thought Reuben Bain Jr. would be there. And credit to Jason Light, their GM, for sitting and waiting, because I would have been itching to trade up as he started falling. He added a couple of impactful defensive pieces, Josiah Trotter, Keontae Scott out of Miami, who's a dog, who can also play the nickel and safety. And as a whole, I love this draft. I love what it does for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now.
Mina, one of the advantages for me of doing a big board is I can kind of quantify these things. There was only one NFL team that had 5 of my top 100 players on their roster by the end of the weekend. That was the Raiders, who actually had 6 of my top 109, if you include Trey Zune, who went in the late 90s for them in the 3rd round. Defensively, I like some of the versatility they added. I also like the pure pass rush juice that Kieran Crawford offers. And, of course, Fernando Mendoza, the crown jewel of the 2026 NFL Draft.
Brace yourself. I'm going with the New York Jets. Pick number 2. They get, in many people's eyes, the best pass rusher, David Bailey. Then you go Kenyon Sadiq. I've continuously said, think Zach Ertz under Frank Reich, the play caller. Omar Cooper Jr., body catcher, yards after the catch, Jarvis Landry type of player. They got D'Angelo Pons. Everyone knows that I love really dynamic nickels. I think he can play inside right away for a defense that did not have any interceptions last year. I thought the Jets crushed it.
Let's go, Jets. I agree, right? There's no denying it. No matter how crazy sometimes it sounds to say the Jets crushed it. Maybe it's a turning of the tide.
Everyone is skeptical of it. So.
Well, that's how Jets fans have to be.
You tell a Jets fan that you like their draft, and their immediate response is like, just give it time. We'll screw it up.
It's
like, no, you're not.
We're trying to figure out what we screwed up. We're with you for the hour. Adam Schefter is here, too. There's a lot of news, and Adam was in Pittsburgh for all the action. Joins us now for some of the top stories from draft weekend. Adam, give us some of the stories that helped define the draft. Let's start in Kansas City.
The Chiefs made a statement that they were looking to improve their defense. Their first 4 draft picks were all defensive players, including first-round draft pick Mansour Delane. They followed that up right after by going with Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson, R. Mason Thomas, the edge from Oklahoma, and Jadon Kennedy, the defensive back from Oregon. They know that their offense can hold its own. The Chiefs went to upgrade their defense, and it looks like they did just that. Meanwhile, the Giants upgraded both line positions. They got arguably the top 2 linemen on each side of the ball. Arvell Reese was the number 5 overall selection. Francis Mauigoa was the 10th overall selection. And John Harbaugh knows that games are won in the trenches, and that's where the Giants use their early draft resources. Meanwhile, the Eagles traded up to take USC wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. The last time the Eagles and Cowboys made a trade like this, swapping draft positions, the Eagles came away with Devontae Smith. The Eagles are hoping that Mekhi Lemon can now complement Devontae Smith and obviously help make up for the expected absence of A.J. Brown, who still is expected to be dealt on or after June 1st to the New England Patriots.
Adam's with us for the entire show. A lot more to get to, and we will. Mina, the Eagles land Lemon and Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers. If A.J. Brown is, in fact, traded away by the start of the season, just how different do you expect this offense to look in Philly?
Very different. I think the Lemon selection in particular adds to this sense that the Eagles offense is really going to undergo an evolution under the new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion. Starting with the player, Lemon, physical, gritty, primarily in the slot, but I think you can align him in the backfield. He does his best work over the middle of the field, which we all know has not been a focal point of this offense and this quarterback, but it's so easy to look at this group of receivers now with Devontae primarily playing on the outside, Stowers as more of like a big slot type of a tight end, And to think about, okay, what might this look like? How could it look a little bit more like Green Bay? Spread the ball around, under center, condensed formations. Can they improve the run game in that regard? They added a blocking tight end too. The question for me is not whether the offense is evolving. I think we all see it's going to. It's whether the quarterback is going to be on board with that, Dan, because this has not been who Jalen Hurts has been in the NFL. It's not been the kind of offense they've run with him. And for it to succeed, he needs to be on board and executing it the way that we've seen it work out so well in other places.
Yeah, it's the dawn of a new era offensively in Philadelphia. I mean, Jalen Hurts will have no choice but to throw the ball over the middle field and get comfortable doing it. I think not only the Mekhi Lemon selection, but to your point, Stowers indicates that. Sean Mannion, play call. I mean, if we look at Jalen Hurts over the past couple of years, he's are guys that wear out the area of the field that he just doesn't distribute the ball to. It's a new era, and I think his hand is going to be forced getting comfortable with it.
Really fast, how hard is it going to be to teach Jalen Hurts these things? Do you think he's capable of making these changes as quickly as
I think he's capable of doing it. It is up to be determined if he's capable of doing it consistently. I think it's a difficult thing to get comfortable with because you have to be willing to throw the ball blind. Where you don't see, and he's not really done that a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it was scheme or if it was just the players the Eagles had. I tend to think it was scheme, but this team had the second fewest yards after the catch last season. The first two guys they pick, Mekhi Lemon and then Eli Stowers, both excellent in that regard for their respective positions. I liked the draft, just looking at the players the Eagles acquired. When you factor in the trade for Jonathan Grenard, I love the draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. He wasn't the same player last year as he was in seasons prior for Minnesota, but to get him for the cost of 2 third-round picks and then a very reasonable $25 million per year over 4 years extension, this guy can give Philadelphia something they didn't have as much of last year. Josh Sweat goes to Arizona. They didn't have that veteran edge rush you could count on quite as much as I think they will in Grenard.
Yeah, and the other point with Jalen Hurts and throwing the ball in the middle of the field, risk. He's a risk-averse quarterback.
Right. Sure.
Quarterbacks that are comfortable throwing the ball to the perimeter, one of the reasons is because there's a more variance to miss. If I miss high, it goes out of bounds. If I miss low, I'm going to ground it in the dirt. Quarterbacks who are comfortable throwing in the middle of the field, they're a little bit more in control of the football, also a little bit more risky because if I throw high, it's a pick. If I throw low, it's a pick.
Yeah. When you say that, Dan, it makes me think, too, like Lemon is – I don't want to say he's like training wheels for throwing over the middle of the field, but he is the type of receiver where if you can just get it in his general vicinity, he is going to come down with the football. He's undersized, but he fights for every ball like it's his last. So when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who, to your point, as you guys have been discussing, doesn't like to throw over the middle, is wary of throwing picks, is not that tall, right? So he's not seeing it that well. Knowing that Lemon is going to be a reliable target for him in that part of the field is very important.
Yeah, and remember, too, I mean, the Steelers wanted Lemon, then Philadelphia
wild was
gets him. It was absolutely crazy, but you think about just how specifically they wanted a player like this, it makes sense. And this is not something the Eagles have done in a while. It's the first time they've used each of their first 2 picks on pass catchers since 1982. That's a long time ago. All right, big night across the line of scrimmage for the New York Giants, drafting Arvell Reese to play edge on defense and Francis Maui-Noah to hold down the left tackle spot on the O-line. I talked with Maui-Noah just moments after his big moment, and he had a strong message for his new QB, Jackson Dart.
I'll die about this, man. Man, I'm ready to die for you, man. I know a lot of things has happened, bro, but I'm ready to die for you, bro.
So I asked him, what was his message for Jackson Dart? And that's what he said. Also, just a little peek behind the curtain. The voices are booming in there. It was really loud. I didn't know he said a bad word until later. I'm like, oh, I guess we're bleeping that out. All right. I had no idea what's going on.
I would love to know if him and Jackson Dart have connected.
We'll find that out. That's a good question.
Hope so, right?
Let's ask we'll ask Jordan Renan, our Giants reporter. Okay, Dan, how much, though, do you think that Dart will like hearing that type of ferocity from his new alignment?
Love. Absolutely love, not only because he's a quarterback, but just his personality. I think, one, this is the most talented offensive line the Giants have had in a decade, honestly. This has the chance to be a above average to good offensive line. New York, you haven't had that in forever. I really, to my core, believe that this draft in many ways will hinge on Malachi Fields, the third-round receiver. I think this offensive line is going to be good. Maui-Noah can play all over the place. I was adamant, could go get a second-round receiver. You would know better than me about Malachi Fields, but I know he's long, he's athletic, he tested very well, he can go down the field and make plays. They are going to need that. For this offense to really go in the next 2 years somewhere, they're going to need that.
I think you can think of Malachi Fields like a Cortland Sutton type. The straight line speed
That
is
would be
not going
awesome.
to blow you away, but the contested catch stuff is really good. No drops this past season. Maybe it's easy because they picked 2 players in the first 10 selections, but I loved what the Giants did in the first round, especially considering the value. I had Arvell Reese graded higher than the 5th overall pick in the draft. I have CeCe Maui-Noah graded higher than the 10th overall pick in the draft. And it gives you both a short and long-term plan for each of those players because the Giants don't need Arvell Reese to be a dominant pass rusher right out of the gates. They have Brian Burns, of course, Abdul Carter, and also, at least for now, Kayvon Thibodeau. Sounds like he's going to be there for the end or for the rest of this season as well. Same thing with CeCe Maui-Noah. Can he be a guard right away? Maybe he has to because of the way their offensive line is configured. But this team can also have a plan to move him back to his natural spot at right tackle at some point in the future. There was the biggest question mark for CeCe Maui-Noah was he did have this back issue that teams were made aware of during the pre-draft process. Obviously, the Giants and others were very comfortable with it, given the fact they took him number 10 overall. But he was the steadiest player, start to finish, of any prospect in the entire class.
You mentioned that Arvell Reese doesn't necessarily have to play right away or at least be a regular heavy contributor right away. Mina, when you think about that, how do you think they should use Reese? He's a guy that some people wondered how they'll develop him, but you've always been high on his skill set.
Yeah, I loved this pick for them. So primarily he's going to play linebacker. And as I said, the day after they drafted him, he is a very good linebacker. He is extremely good against the run. He's an exceptional tackler. And I think will be contributing to, what was a very bad run defense last year immediately next to Tremaine Edmonds. But I also want you to picture this. Say it's 3rd down. You got Abdul Carter and Brian Burns, maybe even Kayvon Thibodeau's find his way on the field. And Arvell Reese is walked up over the A-gap. If you're the offense, you don't know if he's dropping into coverage, if he's maybe spying your quarterback, if you've got a mobile quarterback, or if he's coming as a pass rusher, but you have to prepare for that possibility. That mental stress that New York can place on offenses is exactly the kind of mental stress that John Harbaugh and Gary Wilson, their defensive coordinator, used to do in Baltimore with Roquan and Kyle Hamilton. So I just feel like he immediately gets as a contributor to the pass rush, even if he is still developing as a pass rusher who ultimately may end up playing on the edge down the road.
And Cal, I'll ask you this. Is he good enough against the run on early downs to get to that? This was a historically bad run defense who lost Dexter Lawrence.
Dude, he is such a good tackler. I think because everyone was thinking about him versus David Bailey, we were so locked in on what is he as a pass rusher that got a little bit lost in the conversation. He is exceptional against the run. Field knows this too. He sets a hard edge. He is powerful. He has the frame. And as a linebacker, he will be very helpful in that regard.
I feel like there's a little motivation too. He didn't drop, right? But he did go maybe a little later than some people had, or at least a couple picks later. Maybe that motivates him a little bit more.
We saw him in the green room. What on earth? Where does Ohio State find these guys?
I don't know.
Him and Sonny
Chiseled
Styles.
out of absolute rock.
You have muscles I don't even think are in my body.
I think they come to Connecticut.
That's pretty much true.
You can relate?
Greek
okay.
gods. Jeez.
Dan's like, that's where I came from. All right, new on NFL Live. Adam back with us. We have some news out of New England. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, Laura, we all know that Mike Vrabel took some time away from the draft on day 3 to go be with his family, but he was back in the Patriots training facility today, back at work after a weekend trip to Salt Lake City to Utah to go spend time with his family. Now back at work, not a long trip, a couple of days, and Vrabel now back in the building with his former team.
All right, we got more coming your way here on NFL Live. Don't go anywhere. Lots still to get to. Just reflecting on the draft and much more. Jesse Minter completed his first draft as the Ravens head coach, but did he hit the mark on his pick? Stay tuned to hear why Mina loved Baltimore's draft. She's going to dive in. Plus, the Cowboys didn't draft a wide receiver early, so what does George Pickens' future look like in Jerry's world? Shefty has the latest on what's happening in Dallas. We asked, by the way, and got answers on Maui, Noah, and Dart. Look at this. They're definitely talking.
All right.
They're hanging out.
There's the fellas.
He's like, so you're going to die for me.
Yeah,
cool.
so we're confirming this?
We'll be right back on ESPN. Dak Prescott in the building as Cowboys voluntary workouts begin today. A little pep in his step, getting ready to go. It says back 4 more. Pretty clever there, number 4. Okay. And Dak has to be feeling good as we got news late last week that George Pickens plans to sign his franchise tag tender. However, as of this afternoon, for our Cowboys reporter Todd Archer, George Pickens has not yet signed the franchise tag tender with the Cowboys. Adam Schefter back with us now. Shefty, you combine that news with the fact that Dallas did not use an early round draft pick on a wideout. What does it all mean for the future of Pickens and the Cowboys?
Well, it means that George Pickens continues to want a long-term contract or a trade. The Dallas Cowboys have said they have no intention of trading George Pickens, but then again, at this time last year, they said they had no intention of trading Micah Parsons, and we all know how that turned out. This is a story that still is evolving, and we'll still see where it goes. But as you mentioned, Laura, he was planning to sign that tag, but as of today, he still has not signed that tag. Now, I'm told it was because everybody was busy during the draft. It just didn't get done. We're told he's signing. We haven't been told he's not signing the tag, that his plans have changed. But it is interesting that it's Monday, and that came out on Thursday, and it's not signed, and he's not contractually obligated to be there at any point during the offseason until he does sign that tag, and he cannot be traded until he signs that tag. So there's a lot left there that's still to unfold. And in the interim, the Dallas Cowboys did get a deal done today with the former veteran wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's signing a one-year deal as he now moves on to the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, yeah, it does feel like there's not much that would be more important than getting George Pickens to sign that franchise tag tender. So if that didn't happen, it makes you think there's still a possibility that a trade could happen. All right, I said it, not Adam. Let's stay with the Cowboys as we see what's on
Well, he has
trend.
to sign it to be traded.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Good point. Yes. Thank you for that clarification. Let's talk about the Dallas defense. Okay, they truly struggled on the defensive side in every facet, ranking dead last in points per game, passing yards, efficiency, EPA, and third down conversion rate. Dan, was last weekend's draft enough to turn around those defensive trends?
Yeah, talent-wise, it was the finishing touch. You get Caleb Downs, who in many people's eyes is one of the, if not the best players defensively in the draft. They draft Malachi Lawrence, Barham at linebacker. This is a much improved talent unit, and if Caleb Downs can play all over the field similar to a Cooper DeJean has in Philadelphia or Kyle Hamilton has in Baltimore, and Malachi Lawrence just throughout the season progresses and gets better as a pass rusher. You have him. Don't forget they've added a Rashawn Gary, Jalen Thompson at safety. This is a defense that on paper should be a top 12 defense in the league. If the offense plays in Dallas the way it has, the Cowboys are going to be a much improved and playoff contending football team.
That's a massive jump. I hear you. Next up, the Bears and their lack of pass rush. Chicago had an opportunistic defense with turnovers and big plays, but they couldn't get after the quarterback. Barely, noticeable pass rush, ranked bottom 4 in pressure rate to go with a sub 6% sack rate last season. Mina, did the Bears do enough this offseason to shore up that pass rush?
They did not, and I feel bad because I liked their draft. Like Dylan Thieneman, no one thought he was going to be there at 25. They needed a safety. I understand that, adding a center, great blocking tight end out of Stanford, Sam Rush. But as you pointed out, the pass rush was the most glaring need on this team. And unfortunately, they did not come out of this draft with any pass rush help to add to Montez Sweat, Node Ingbo, and Booker and company. So I do think that the Bears are going to still need help, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have to make a move in season to augment that rush.
Last, we turned to New England when we last saw the Patriots on the field. Drake May got pressured 19 times and sacked 6 times in the Super Bowl. The O-line was a bottom 10 unit all last season long, despite the team's overall success. Field, they went O-line in the first round. Did the Pats do enough to break that trend?
They're getting there, Laura. I'm not sure it's a totally finished puzzle. I'll explain why in a moment. Between Elijah Vera-Tucker and now Caleb Lumu, the Patriots have reinforced this offensive line. What's exciting for them going forward is they have 3 players in Caleb Lumu, plus their 2 rookies last year, Will Campbell and Jared Wilson. They're all 22 or younger who are going to be counted on to play meaningfully for them right now and going forward. The big question is, of course, what's the offensive line configuration going to be? I expect Caleb Lumu in time to be their right tackle. For this year, he could be competing for an offensive guard job instead.
Up next, more Jets love. Get excited, Jets fans, or maybe don't. They might think we're...
Come on, get excited.
Okay, get excited.
You know, win right now. This is Christmas morning for many Jets fans. They've got some hope.
All right, talking about the Jets as we are back with you on NFL Live. Let's start with what all this means for the team on the field this fall, right? Mina, offensively, what do you make of what the Jets have now?
Really nice. Honestly, amazing how they've turned around this group and to focus on the present because obviously for the future is where fans are already thinking. I'm really interested in seeing how their offensive coordinator, Frank Reich, uses the wide receivers and tight ends at his disposal, particularly Kenyon Sadiq, who was their second pick in the first round. He is not a play caller who has historically used a lot of 12 personnel, right? Frank Reich, you think more 3 wide receivers on the field, spread things out, target the middle of the field. But I do think that if you want to get the most out of Sadiq, you do want both him and Mason Taylor, who you'd have more traditionally in line, on the field at the same time so that you can move him around and get mismatches. What the best teams in the NFL are doing with playmaking tight ends in terms of, running the ball when they face nickel and throwing on backers. You have to find a way to get that as well if you're Frank Reich. And I do think with Geno Smith at quarterback, there's potential for this passing attack to take a leap forward.
Dan, Geno could prove to be serviceable this season, right?
Sure,
we don't know how he's going to play, but do you think the franchise will be thinking about a quarterback in next year's draft, which we know will at least seems to be a much better quarterback draft? How did last week set them up for the future?
I think the franchise was thinking about the future 2027 quarterback last week.
Yeah.
I don't think they're just starting now. I don't know when was the last time that there was this real hope in New York. I think that if we span the 32 organizations in the NFL, there's about as much hope for the future in New York as there is anywhere. If we just fast forward to this time next year, the Jets will be sitting on $150 million in cap space and 3 first-round picks. That's a very enticing place to go to for a young quarterback. And mind you, you see the names of a Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper Jr. there. Mina just mentioned Mason Taylor, obviously Garrett Wilson. This is a young and talented offensive line as well. And so, if you're a quarterback and historically don't go to the Jets, I would argue that right now and in the future, the Jets are a place that a young quarterback, as long as Frank Reich proves that he's got a grasp of what's really going on in the NFL, I think it's a very enticing place to go play.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time in Jets history they've made 3+ first-round picks. Just think about the capital that they have gotten in all in one night. It's pretty impressive. Let's get Adam Schefter back in here for some more top stories from the draft in Pittsburgh last week. Let's start, Adam, in L.A., where they surprised some with the Ty Simpson pick.
Well, are the reverberations of the Rams selecting Ty Simpson with the 13th overall pick still are being felt. Sean McVay said his mood after the pick that night had nothing to do with Ty Simpson. He was trying to be respectful to Matthew Stafford, who during the afternoon on Thursday called Stetson Bennett to let them know that they intended to take Ty Simpson, which they did later that night. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia will work out this weekend for the Baltimore Ravens on a tryout basis. This is after he went through the draft and was not selected by any team. Keep in mind, this is a workout this weekend. He could work out for another team holding a mini camp next weekend, not under contract yet, but going to camp this weekend with the Ravens. And the 49ers still are hoping to trade Brandon Aiyuk and are determined to hold on to him as long as they need to until they can make some sort of trade happen. A lot of people believe that Washington is possible for Brandon Aiyuk, where he would be reunited with his college teammate Jaden Daniels, but the Niners want to try to extract something in return for a player that they paid handsomely on a long-term contract extension, and for the time being are unwilling to release him.
Man, yeah, it's really what Dan? We're going.
It's just a very odd situation.
It's
you watch
bizarre.
the highlights, you're like, man, this guy's a really good player, and then I don't know what's going on.
Haven't been able to get in touch with him. I mean, there's just so much to it, right? There's a lot of layers. But Mina, if the 49ers do move on, is there a team for Aiyuk that makes the most sense to you?
Yeah, I'll throw out one that really needs to add a receiver, the Las Vegas Raiders. It's tough because I really like the players that they chose in the draft after Mendoza, but I'm also disappointed that they didn't add pass-catching help for the young quarterback. Because right now you're looking at a group that's Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor, who they added in free agency, and then they also have Jack Besh, right, who they drafted last year. when you think about Mendoza and his skill set, his preference, he throws the ball, those beautiful back shoulder balls, the outs, it doesn't feel to me like there's a receiver on the roster who really matches up well with that. I understand the offense is going to be a Kubiak offense, very, under center, throw over the middle field, play action, all that. So I would be on the phone and gauge interest. Obviously it's hard to know where Aiyuk is right now, what his status is as a player. We're all kind of grasping. But if he's anywhere close to what he was in San Francisco, that would be a really helpful add.
Yeah, I would put Washington very much so at the top of the list. Need and the relationship with their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, their time in college. Shefty, I'd ask you this, because my thought goes to anybody that wants to be in the A.J. Brown trade sweepstakes, at least was. Are they taking anything? Like, I would put the Rams in there coming off of the draft pick of Ty Simpson. But is that in division no shot? Like, where would that land?
Well, the Rams took a long, hard look at A.J. Brown and decided to go in a different direction, and I do not expect that to change. I still believe that the Patriots are the most likely landing spot. I guess the events surrounding Mike Vrabel always could impact and influence things. I haven't heard yet that they will.
What about the Rams and Aiyuk,
June 1st. Again, I think a lot of teams have some questions there. They've been unable to reach him. And so I think Brandon Aiyuk would have to talk to these teams, and they would have to feel comfortable. But the problem with trading him, despite the Niners' insistence on doing that, is that the contract is such that no team wants the contract as it currently stands, even with the guaranteed money in it voided.
Yeah,
so they would have to cut him,
right?
And then he would have to sign with.
And Shefty, correct me if I'm wrong here, but he's owed a lot of money here coming up at least in 27, maybe even beyond that.
Right, but they voided the guarantees last year, so they're out of the guaranteed money. So these teams have been unwilling to pick up the current contract as it is constituted. They'd rather he be released, and then they could sign him to their own contract at a much lower number.
Yeah, so this is going to continue to be a standstill for a little while.
There's no deadline, right? There's no time where he has to be cut at a certain time frame?
No, I would say this. He's under contract to the Niners, so technically he has to report to mini camps and training camp, but the two sides always could reach some sort of agreement if they want to say, okay, we are excusing him until we can work out a trade. But again, that trade has been very difficult to come by.
Yeah. They also, have not heard from him. So unless that changes, I doubt he's showing up. New on NFL Live, more wide receiver news coming in today. The Vikings have officially exercised Jordan Addison's fifth-year option. So you see that with the Minnesota Vikings. Dan, since you're hosting the show now, you want to read the bump? You want to tell me what's coming up next?
Yeah, guys, coming up, Ty Simpson to the Rams was the surprise of the draft in the first round. But was Simpson?
Good teaser. We're going to read and react, starting with some of the picks made over the weekend. We're going to start in L.A., where the Rams surprised some when they took quarterback Ty Simpson at 13th overall. Didn't surprise Dan. He thought it was coming. Speculation that Sean McVay, though, wasn't thrilled about the choice, given his body language during Thursday night's press conference. On Saturday, McVay joined Peter Schrager and Kyle Brandt on ESPN, made it clear Simpson wasn't the reason behind his demeanor.
I would have been stoic by nature anyways, just based on the respect for Matthew, because it's a unique situation. You get a chance to be able to, take a player that you like at a really important position, but you don't want it to be minimized or misunderstood in terms of what this means in terms of our investment and our commitment to Matthew for as long as he wants to continue to play. And so you're kind of teetering that line, and clearly, I came off a little grumpier than normal.
Grumpy. Dan, what do you make of McVay's overall reaction to the Simpson pick?
But this is why Sean McVay is who Sean McVay is, one of the great coaches in the NFL, and why the Rams are organizationally where they are, success-wise. This is the superpower, the ability to lead, take accountability, communicate, not step over certain situations. Sean even intimated it. It's a unique situation. I have said since the moment, you are trying to thread the needle, and it's rare that an organization has that opportunity realistically to live in the now while also preparing for the future. And Sean, while respectfully understanding, I'm not trying to overshadow our MVP, reigning MVP quarterback, while also accepting this new player in an important position, He's trying to do it perfectly, and I think he's done it well over the past 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, and you're right. Very few could strike it the way that McVay has. Let's talk about Buffalo next. The Bills loaded up on defense in the draft, despite only having 2 selections in the top 100. Overall, 6 of their first 8 picks were on the defensive side of the ball, including a couple second-rounders. The lone skill player Buffalo took was wide receiver Skylar Bell out of UConn. Shout out, Dan, UConn.
Let's go, man.
Hey, all right. Field, what did you make of what the Bills did last week in the draft, where they didn't have a first-round selection? They didn't get a chance to draft until Friday.
It's all going to come down to the second round for them, Laura. You mentioned the trade down from the first round, but keep in mind, they previously traded their second-round pick to the Bears for DJ Moore. They moved out of the first round, eventually taking TJ Parker from Clemson with their top selection. He was number 32 on my big board. They get him at number 35. Good value there overall. Then they trade back up into the end of the second round to get Davison Igbinosun from Ohio State. This was a little bit higher than where I had him rated. He was a much improved player this season under Matt Patricia. 2 years ago, he had 16 penalties. Got to be a more disciplined player at the top of the rounds. But round 2 is going to define the Bills' upcoming season and I guess this draft class.
Yeah, we were sitting there on Thursday. We're like, golly, the Bills just keep trading
Three
back,
times.
trading back. They led the way with 7 draft day trades, just one shy of the matching the most since 1990. Let's finish in Baltimore. The Ravens loaded up in the middle of the draft and ended up with 11 players total. They added a lot of potential talent on offense to help Lamar Jackson, including Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt at wideout, along with multiple tight ends to replace Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar. Mina, what did you like about what the Ravens did in this draft?
I liked a lot. They started with maybe the most predicted pick in the entire draft, taking the guard out of Penn State, Venga Ioane, just a perfect fit in terms of adding at nasty run blocking edge that you see there. They also had a glaring need. But I want to add beyond that, I really like them adding Zion Young out of Mizzou. They signed Trey Hendrickson, who's a very good pass rusher, but not so much a run defender, and that's what Zion Young is excellent at. He sets a mean edge. Finally, with Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt out of Indiana, you got 2 receivers, both of whom give you size. Lane is 6'4", Surratt is 6'2", and that was sort of the missing piece in that offense in terms of that wide receiver group. So throw 2 picks at that, hope one of them works out, but by and large, I think this is a nice haul.
All right, Dan, let's see some hustle. Get in here and tell me what you think about the Baltimore Ravens draft.
Yeah, I agree. Love their draft. And I want to remind everybody, new offense scheme-wise in Baltimore, which is going to be different. Declan Doyle comes over from Chicago. It's going to be a little bit of the Ben Johnson, Sean Payton, Sean McVay, Shanahan. So it's the frame of those receivers and their willingness to go over the middle of the field, I do think is a necessity, and they really haven't had that in Baltimore.
All right, we talked Jets, we've talked all these other teams. How about the Browns? Okay, Cleveland made big splashes in this year's draft. Should the Browns' revamped receiver group be something to look out for? I mean, I think so. So tell us why. That's next, right here on NFL Live. We're so optimistic today. I love that about us.
There's hope. There's hope.